Hi, welcome to this unit. Here we're going to talk about basic operators. It's going to be a bit unstructured. I'm going to jump back and forth amongst these points. I'm going to introduce the following operators. Now these are operators: the plus or addition operator, the subtraction operator, the multiplication operator, the division operator, the modulus operator, and the exponentiation or the power 2 operator. Okay, so let's start by going to interactive Ruby. Now in interactive Ruby you can get an answer directly. This is something like a calculator. So let's start with the simplest: 3 plus 4. Now what is happening here? This is an operator, addition, numeric addition. Okay, now these two numbers 3 and 4 are what we call the operands. Operands are what operators work on. So in this case the operator is plus, the operands are 3 and 4. This plus operator is what we call a binary operator. Why do we call it a binary operator? Because it requires two operands to work. Alright, we'll look at the term unary operator later. Unary operators require only one operand to work. So just by doing this 3 plus 4 and I hit enter, I'll get the sum of 3 and 4, which is 7 here. I can do this with variables. Let's put into practice what you have learned in the previous unit. I can do stuff like a equals to 3, b equals to 4, b equals to 4. Okay, so a stores 3, b stores 4. I can do a plus b as well. So they will get the value in a, which is 3, get the value in b, which is 4, and do the summation. This is integer addition, no big deal. The addition operator can also work on floats. 1.2 plus 1.6, no problem. You get a float. A float plus a float results in a float. Now the subtraction operator is pretty straightforward as well. 3 minus 4, you get negative 1. 3.14 minus 1, I get 2.14. The multiplication operator, we do not use x, we do not use the multiplication sign which we have always been using since primary school. We use the asterisk. 3.14 times 6. Okay, the division operator is something interesting, something special. What is 25 divided by 5? Everyone knows 5. What about 26 divided by 5? Hey, answer is 5 as well. Now understand that the division operator, if the operands are both integers, which is the case here, operands are both whole numbers or integers, the answer will always be a whole number. In other words, if the answer is 5 point something, that the point something is thrown away. Let me give another example. 1 divided by 3 is not 0.33333, it's actually 0. Okay, now there's no rounding involved. If you try 2 divided by 3, answer is actually 0.66, right? It will still be 0, it's not 1. It's not a rounded, the answer is not a rounded answer. The answer basically, whatever is after the decimal point is thrown away. There's no rounding involved. So this is how the division operator works if the two operands are integers. Now, if the operands are decimal values, the picture is different. Thereby lies the difference, the major difference between integer operations and floating point operations. Let me say again. If the two operands for the addition, subtraction, multiplication, division operators, if both operands are integers, the answer will always be an integer. If both operands are floating point numbers, or if one of the two operands is a floating point number, the answer will be a floating point number. So in this case, a float divided by a float will give you a float. A integer divided by a float will still give you a float. And a float divided by integer will give you a float. Now, if one of these two operands is a float, the other operand, which in this case is an integer, will be automatically promoted to a float, and this becomes a float operation. This is important because if you're not careful and do stuff like that, and you're expecting 0.3 as the answer, you'll get something unexpected. Okay, so we have covered the 4 basic operators, this one. Now, before I move on to the modulus operator and a power operator, I will want to introduce brackets. Okay, now you have done basic primary school mathematics. You know that a statement like this should give 14. Okay, this is the same as 2 plus 12, 14, and not 5 times 4, and not 20. And why is that the case? Because operators have precedence. The multiplication and division operator, both of them have higher precedence than the addition and subtraction operator. And this is the same for programming. Operators have precedence. You can do a search for Ruby operator precedence and get a table which shows you the precedence or priority of the operators. If you check the table, you realize that multiplication and division has higher precedence than addition and subtraction, which means that this will happen first. 3 times 4 will happen first, 12, and 2 plus 12. Answer is 14. Now, what if you want to perform 2 plus 3 first? You add brackets. Okay, you add brackets. So this will force 2 plus 3 to happen first. 5 times 4. So in programming, you use brackets to force an operation to happen first. Okay. Otherwise, if you don't use brackets, you have to refer to the table of precedence, operator precedence, to determine which operator will have priority. So if you want to be a clear coder, just put in the round brackets where necessary. Okay, you do not want to keep referring to the table of precedence, operator precedence. Okay. Now, by the way, all these spaces are optional. There's no need for spaces. Okay, what you have just typed is the same as this. I'm just putting in spaces to make things more readable to you. Okay, let's move on to the mod operator. Now, what is mod? The mod operator is commonly known as the remainder of operator. So let's go back to 1 divided by 3, 0. 1 mod 3, that's the percentage by the way, is 1. In other words, when 1 is divided by 3, the remainder is 1. Now 1 divided by 3 is 0, remainder 1. What about 2 divided by 2 mod 3? 2 mod 3, answer is 2. 2 divided by 3 gives you 0 with the remainder of 2. So this mod operator is very useful in certain circumstances. Okay, I give an example of its usefulness. Let's say x is a variable. You do not know what is x. To determine if x is an even number, I just have to do this: x mod 2. If it's 0, x is an even number. Okay, if x mod 2 is 1, that means this is an odd number. Alright, if x mod 20 is 0, it is divisible by 20. If it's not 0, it's not immediately divisible, directly divisible by 20. Alright, there's some remainder if you do that division. What about the power 2 operator? 3 to the power of 2, 2 to the power of 3. Okay, straightforward. Two asterisks together, stuck together. Okay. Now, obviously all these operators work on numbers. Doesn't make sense to have, you know, a string to the power of another string, or a string mod a number. Doesn't make sense. Only operator whereby you can use strings in this case will be the addition operator. I'll talk about that here. Okay, so I've covered operator precedence. I've covered using brackets. If you want an operator with a lower precedence to happen first, to perform its job first. Now let's go back to unary versus binary operators. I was saying that for example, the power 2 operator is a binary operator. Why? Because it requires 2 operands, 2 to the power of 3, 2 operands. If you try to do this, it doesn't work. It basically means that it's waiting for you to enter the remaining part of the statement. All right. Now, what are unary operators? That means they require only one operand. Let me give an example of a unary operator. This minus sign here is a unary operator. I'm not doing subtraction. I'm just applying the unary operator to the number 3 to make it a negative number. So the minus sign here, although it looks the same as a binary operator, is a unary operator. It's a negative sign. Okay, so A now stores -3. That is a unary operator. There are some other unary operators, okay, which we'll see down the road. Just be familiar with this term. Okay, we covered this term operands already. Okay, operators who work with operands. Let's end up with the addition operator, also known as a concatenation operator, when you perform it on string operands. So let me give an example here. What's the meaning of the term concatenate? Concatenation. Concatenate means to add 2 strings together. Right? This works. This works, and it will give you a new string. The new string given, the new string which is the result is this. So it's very simple. It's like adding 2 strings together. Okay, but unlike numeric addition, the answer is a new string, which is created by joining the 2 strings in sequence. Let's try. Let's say S1 equals to pi, S2 equals to apple. So what is S1 plus S2? Pineapple. I put it in S3. S3 equals to S1 plus S2. What's in S3? Pineapple. What's in S1? Pie. S2, still apple. Alright, I can do S3 plus space JUICE. Okay, remember, this itself is a string. Now, this string consists of a space followed by JUICE. How many characters are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 characters in the second string. So I get a new string because of the concatenation operator, pineapple juice. Okay, I didn't store pineapple juice in a variable. I can if I want to do that. S4 equals to S3 plus space JUICE, and S4 will store the string pineapple juice. Now what happens if one of the operand is a number and one of the operand, the other operand, is a string? For example, what happens when you do 3 plus S4? Oh, okay, 3 plus hello, something silly. Now you get an error. Okay, in Ruby you get an error. You say string cannot be coerced into a fixed num. Now, fixed num is basically an integer. What they are trying to tell you is that there's an error. You are trying to force the string into an integer because they are trying to perform integer addition. So if you want to create a new string which looks like that, if you want to create a new string which looks like that, you have to convert the integer into a string first. This is how you do it. 3.2s plus hello. This works. Dot underscore to s converts this whole thing into a string. What string? This string. Okay, the digit is a character in the string. It's not the number 3, but it's a character, which is the number 3. It's not a number 3. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. Concatenation is different from numeric addition. Okay, you cannot add a number to a string. You cannot add a string to a number. Okay, either you convert the string into a number and perform numeric addition, or you convert a number to a string and perform string concatenation. Alright, so that's what I have for you here.